Hi, Caesar.
Yeah.
Hey, how did you get to that 3D view again?
Yes. Hit the little house in the upper left side.
Uh-huh. Oh,
And
default.
yeah, that's the default 3D view.
Hi, Caesar.
Yeah.
Hey, how did you get to that 3D view again?
Oops. Sorry. I need to. Yes. Hit the little house. Sorry, relay. That's the relay audio. I muted, so we're good. Um, all right. I don't know if I covered this last. I think I missed discussing a little more about the view controls and the selection controls, and I want to do that before we move forward. Quick review on concepts presented last class. In Revit, we have three types of elements. We have geometrical representations of model assembles, and those can be hosts and components. Host is the same as a system family, so please remember that. System families only live within a project. They cannot be saved as an external files. So a system family is a family that is only created within the project, lives in a project. You cannot save a system family as an external RFA. So an example of a system family, the walls, the roof, the ceilings, the floors, the slabs, the top of surface. All those are system families. You can copy paste them between projects, but they cannot be saved as an external file. And then the component families are loadable components. Those are the files with the extension .rfa, the Revit families, and they are loadable. You can save your library of components. You can have your library components accessible so that you can bring into your project your most typical uh, geometrical configurations. Um, all right, so host equal system families, components are loadable families. In the context of Revit, how do you know a roof is a system family? The way to know this is a system family is you go to the edit type. And when you look at the type properties, it's disclosed at the very top. These are the type properties. It discloses at the very top that there is a system family. Roof is a system family. The top of surface, I'm going to select the top of surface here. Sorry, I'm going to select the floor, foundation slab. It says it's a system family. You can see here. So as lab family, I cannot save it as an external file. I cannot load as an external file, but you can build it within projects. And on the contrary, when I select these wind power generator, when I look at the type properties, it doesn't say system family, so that's a component. So if it doesn't say system family, you can load this. Um, a, a wall is a system family. I'm going to switch to the floor plan view. So if you go to the project browser, open the view branch, open the floor plan folder, and open level 2. The next element in this chart are datum. Datum are work planes. In work planes, it's a fundamental concept in Revit. A work plane is a two-dimensional plane that serve as a grid. A grid is a vertical plane that defines the location of structural elements. Levels are horizontal planes that define the top, the finished top floor level. We have views like a section, elevation, detail and large plans. Those are planes that intersect the model, and then the projection of that section is what you see on a view. And then reference planes, and reference planes are working planes that enable us to establish the framework of any geometry. Think of this as construction line in AutoCAD. Those are placeholder, non-printable line geometry or plane geometry that structure the frame of geometry, and then we use reference planes to construct and build our assembles. So in Revit, this is how it looks like. This is a grid. A grid doesn't have depth. It's a vertical plane that anchors the or that define the location of the structural elements. Grids can be visible in 3D. Levels can be visible in 3D, but they are not representation of geometry. These are datum objects. And then reference planes, the reference plane under architectural tab, the very last icon in the ribbon, that is the command of reference plane, and the shortcut is also RP. So if you type RP, it will activate the reference plane command. In a reference plane, it is a two-dimensional line. It's actually a plane. If you create a reference plane in a floor plan, it's actually a vertical plane. It's not printable, but we use it to start a sketch process in Revit and to define boundaries and construction aid references. We use reference planes all the time in Revit, in particular when we're starting to do like schematic layouts. The reference plane provide a visual framework that we use as a reference to create our spaces, for example, or plan layouts. You can create a reference plane in floor plan. You can create it in a section. I'm going to switch to a section and create a reference plane. This is a horizontal reference plane, and you can use it to snap, drag, and create dimensions, etc. So reference planes, we use it extensively in Revit in the modeling process. And then the last item in this slide is the view-specific objects. These are objects that are placed on top of the view. You guys there's a question here. Do you see the reference planes? Yeah, the reference planes are not printable. So even though they're visible in the view, they're not going to transfer into a print output. We typically switch them off at the end of the, or delete them at the end of the modeling exercise. And then view-specific objects are annotations and detail components that we place on top of the view. So if you got, I'm sure all of you know AutoCAD. So this is the equivalent of placing objects in paper space, right? Model space is the area where that holds the 3D space. Paper space is a two-dimensional area where you just paste tags and dimensions, and and that's the same concept. Dimension, for example, only lives in a view. You place it in a section, that's it. You cannot be, you won't be transferring in a 3D space. Tags, whether those are window tags, door tags, equipment tags, planting tags, those are two-dimensional elements. Text, arrows, leaders, and detail components. Detail components are, two-dimensional families that we place on top of a view. Those only live in the view. And so in Revit, it translates to these elements. I'm going to go back to here. Like the window tag, this report information contained by the windows. This 46 is actually a type property, a type mark of the window, a single window, and the tag is just convey the information stored in those families. The room tag, a room tag is view specific. When you place it, it only lives in this view. And again, it conveys information contained by the room object. The room object, which is this one, has the information about the name and the bedroom, and then the tag is only reporting information contained by Revit objects. This legend, this text note, and this text with a leader, these are view-specific objects. They only live in the view. And so here's another graphic that explains it at a more granular level. In Revit, we have model elements, hosts, and components. Hosts are walls, floors, roofs, ceilings, topo surfaces, and topo solids. Model components loadable from a library, windows, door, furniture, trees, and storage, benches, etc. Dayroom elements, grids, levels, and reference planes. View-specific elements, annotation like text node, tags, symbols, dimension. Detail components like detail lines, fill regions, fill region is the equivalent of a hatch. You can place a hatch on top of a view. It's not part of the 3D space, but it's part of the paper space of a view. And two-dimensional detail components. All right, any question here? This is basic Revit 101. All right. So one of the things I don't think I mentioned last class is that we can the visibility graphic along with the view controls enable me to apply graphic override on everything that's visible on the screen. So let me talk a bit about lines and line weights and how they work in Revit. So let's review again. I think I mentioned it last class, but in Revit, the content, the families in Revit have a three-tier classification: category, family, and type. Category is a collection of parameters that defines an object. A family is a collection of objects that have the same physical representation and the same parameters. See how round columns and rectangular columns have different physical representations, so they are different families. And then the types are the members of a family. So the way we bring a family into the project is we drag the type into the 3D space. And so categories is the building block of Revit um, classifications system. Categories are not created, they are just given to us. But more importantly, category define the graphic properties of objects in a view. So let me show you here in Revit. If you go to the Manage tab, right next to the materials, you see object styles. It has a button that's like a square with 4 quadrants. Open that dialog box. Object styles define the global graphic properties of Revit categories. So this is the default line weight projection and line weight cut of everything you see in Revit across all the views. So for example, look at the columns. Columns, architectural columns, in projections are going to display line weight number 1, and on cut is going to be line weight number 3, and that's going to be the same value in every view across the entire project. That's the default global graphic property of the column. Look at another one. Let's look at walls. Walls across the entire project in this project has a value of 1 for projection and 3 in cut. The line color is the default color of the assemble. And in Revit, what you see is what you print. What you see is what you get when you print. And so if the line color is in black, the print is going to go black. The line pattern is the default line style associated with the category. And then you can even define materials, but for the most part, materials are not defined at an object style level because different components of different families within a categories may have different materials. And so it's best to leave it blank. Again, these are global settings on how elements are displayed by category. And the line weights, you come from an AutoCAD background and you're familiar with the CVT files, right? And for every color in AutoCAD, there is an associated line weight. Well, that's not how it works in Revit. In Revit, we have a line weight that goes from 1 to 16. And what does that mean? What does that measure? You can look at that under the Manage tab, additional settings, line weights. And so this is the value from 1 to 16. And it's a system by default on millimeters. And it's there is a setting of line weights that is associated with different scales. So for every scale in the project, you have a map of different line weights. And so by definition, you know, by default, this set of line weights are pretty much well defined. This is how it's going to print. Like line weight number 1, look at it, it's 0.18 at smaller scales, 0.1 at larger scales. Line weight number 4 is 0.7, 0.5 in 20, 0.5 in 50, 0.35, 0.25. And so the idea is that at a detail level, the line weights differences are very pronunciated, but as you grow in scale, the line weights decrease its value. It's a little like an adaptive method of assigning line weights. You can add and change it if you want. You can add scales, you can delete values, you can add it if you want. But I think the system of millimeters is pretty much aligned with ISO standards. All right, so when I switch, when I disable the thin line is right here. Thin line disable. The line weight that you see associated with the walls and the doors and the and all the elements in the project is defined by default in object styles. But then, different in construction documentation, we have to create different type of views that reflect different line weight values, depending on what is the purpose of the view and what's our role in a project and how we work in tandem with consultants, right? Like usually in landscape architecture, if you bring your consultant files, whether that is a structural model or an architectural model, most likely you tone down or grade out that linked model. And then the opposite happens with your counterparts. Think about the electrical drawings. Electrical drawings tone down everything about architecture, and then only the elements that are part of the architectural domain is like really bright. And so there is this need to tweak the line weight value according to the purpose of the view. And so the setting in Revit that controls how you apply overrides to a view, it's VG or VV. And this is visibility graphic overrides. And visibility graphic override, it's the core concept that allows us to control how our assembles and our consultant files are displayed in a model. So let's go and open the site plan, for example. This site plan is intended, I don't know, it's probably a good overall site plan. I think this is actually, this is scheduling some plans. It has this nice graphic override with these shadows. But let's say in landscape design, you have all these different type of landscape sheets and landscape views. And for different purposes, you may switch on and off elements of different categories. So let's say I'm going to create a technical documentation of grading, and I need to apply some graphic overrides. So I'm going to duplicate the site view. So in the project browser, when you find site, right-click and duplicate. This is a copy of the previous site. Notice how all the tags and the callouts and they are not copied because those are view specific. And let me show you how graphic overrides work. So by default, the projection line on trees have a value of line weight number 1 or 2. How I can check that? You go to Manage, Object Styles, and go to Planting. Yeah, so the projection line of plants, it's a line weight number 1. That's a very thin line. And at 200 scale, that's probably 0.18 millimeters. Very thin. And again, that's the same value for everywhere in the project. But let's say you want to create a view that's more like a presentation view. And those trees, you want to display them in green color. You can apply graphic overrides just in this view via graphic overrides. So let's do this together. We duplicated a view of the site plan. And type VG on the spot, VG or VV. And this is the graphic override dialog box. Enable a user to apply new line weight values to projection and cut lines for all categories in the view. If everything is blank, you see all those cells are blank. And so that means that there's no override. So if a cell is blank, blank means by category or by category, which means as defined in object styles. That's the global setting. Notice also that there are some categories that are grayed out. And these are elements in Revit that you do not cut. Let's see some example. Parking, for example, parking you only see in projection, but you never cut a parking representation. Plants is another one. Plants are always displaying projections, and they are not cuttable. So gray cells are either not applicable or not cuttable. Another example is furniture. I don't think regardless where the cut plane falls in floor plane, furniture is always going to show as a furniture, right? A bed, you're not going to see the mattress if the cut line is like a 1 foot above floor plan. A bed is always going to be represented as a bed, no matter where the cut plane falls. And the same like toilets and lavatories. No matter where a section falls, the toilets and lavatories are always shown in projection. You're not going to see like the interior of a toilet cut by the cut plane, right? That's doesn't make sense. It's not industry standard. And so some categories don't have overrides in the cut column. All right, so I was saying that you can apply clarity overrides just to this particular view. And if this particular view is going to be a presentation one, I can apply colors. So go scroll down and find the planting category. And the projection lines of the trees, I want them to display in dark green. So you hit override here and change the color to dark green. You can change the line weight if you want to make it like bigger and thicker. Maybe I'll do that. I'm going to do this number 4. And pattern continues. Hit OK, hit apply. Now you see my trees. I overrode the line weight and the color. All right, let's say also I don't need to see the shadows. Well, let's see. I want to display the topography as this really light green. So you go to visibility graphics, and then you go to topography, topography. So what I want to override? I want to apply a solid green pattern on the surface. And so I need to override the pattern. And the topography row on the pattern column and projection surface, I'm going to override a pattern that is a solid fill, that it's, I don't know, very light green. I'm going to pick it from here. I pick a green from this color picker, and then you can scroll, use this sidebar to lighten that up. All right, okay, apply, okay. There it goes. And let's say the property lines, I want them in really thick red color. Same thing, you go visibility graphics, and then the property lines are under the site category. So under the site plan, you see there's property lines here. If you open the site category, the property lines are visible, but I want to override them. I want to make them red, and I want to increase the line weight to number 7 or 8. You see that there is a visual override symbol on the appropriate cell, and now I have that there. And then I can say okay, and then for the roof, the walls, and the roof and the walls in the project, I want to tone them down. I want to like half tone them. And the way you do that, again, visibility graphics. Let's start with the floors. So F for floors. If you want to grade out something very quick, the easy way to do that is using the halftone column. The halftone equals 50% gray. So if in a view you want your consultant files or architecture or non-relevant information to be visible, but as halftone, you can just use those checkboxes. So I'm going to select the floors in 50%. I'm also going to go to the roof. So I scroll down to roofs. Or walls as well, the architectural walls. I want them halftone. And then the roof. And I think there's a structural slab there in this project as well. Well, let's stick with that. Hit apply, hit OK, and I'll see how the how those categories are now 50% gray. Okay, so I'm twitching the line weights, the color, the line settings to serve a specific purpose in Revit. And visibility graphic, it's exactly what helps us achieve that. So I want you to understand this before we move forward, because VG is going to be something we use almost in every class. So so there's a question from Mike. What's the visual style I'm working in? I made a copy of the site plan, and right now this is in hidden line. All right, so the view controls plus visibility graphics control everything, the view qualities and the graphic properties of everything you see in a view. And controlling the visibility graphic is it's a fundamental step to achieve the appropriate representation quality in construction documentation. And oftentimes I hear the comment, oh, Revit is so bad at representing line weights. Look at this. If you compare it with AutoCAD, it's so much dim and light. Well, do you know how BG works? Do you know how to apply graphic overrides? Do you have appropriate visibility graphic templates. It's about knowledge is power, right? And so I think that's an excuse for not knowing how the system works. All right. Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
Is it possible? I know you said just changing the overall interface between like a light mode and dark mode, just like for the contrast and when we're kind of like messing with these line weights, is it possible to just change the viewport to like a white background? Or is that the whole interface that you have to manage to get that kind of contrast?
No. In fact, you see under the view tab, you have at the last end is the canvas view. And the canvas view is just limited to the view. Now, if you wanna do the entire user interface, then you go File, Options, I think it's Colors and the Theme, right? But this changes the entire UI. So
yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, this is new in Revit 2024, I think. Yeah, Canvas theme. But it applies it to every view. It's not just this view. But it doesn't impact printing. It's not that it's gonna come black. But it's available to you if you wanna like see it differently. Yeah. Okay. Is it any other question? All right. I want us to get started with starting a new project from scratch, because I think we've been discussing navigation, UI, disability control today, some Revit Basic 101, terminology. Let's get started in something new. So I want to I told you earlier that there are different ways to start a project depending, your scope of work and how you collaborate with others. If you were the project lead on some feasibility studies where you are not yet part of a consulting team and you need to define some deliverables in Revit, I highly recommend a new workflow that it's based on a connection with Forma. And Forma, it's our latest offering that comes with the AC collection. Forma, I think I gave you a super quick review the first class. I play a video, I think. Forma is web service that allow me to prepare the site canvas for a project. It's TAP, GIS, resources around the world to help you bring topography, road center lines, property lines, existing buildings, aerial photos, shadows, and lights. And you can bring that information into Revit for conceptual design analysis. Forma, it's a service that it's free for educational purposes. So if all of you are here using the educational version of Revit, you should probably have 1 year of full working Forma seat. So to demonstrate Forma, I love to maybe make reference to a project address of your choice. So if you have a project you would like me to work as a group, an address that you would like me to work as a group, you can type it on the chat panel. Otherwise, I'll provide one. I'm going to pick up a spot in San Francisco that we can use for learning purposes. Let's save this file. And let's close it. And then we're going to create, I'm going to show you a little bit about Forma. And I think we're going to stick with Forma until the end of the class. So Forma is our new method of starting new projects. So let me show you what we're going to do with Forma. Well, I don't have, well, this is an example. This is an example of what we can do with Forma. So imagine you are contracted to create some feasibility studies for a client, but you don't have any background information about the project. And Forma, which is this is not Forma, this is Revit. All this information, you know,
Caesar, are we downloading this Forma program now or plugin, or are we?
I'm gonna let you all know how to access it. I'm just showing you the end result of today's exercise, and then we're gonna jump into how to get installed. There's nothing to install. Forma is it's a cloud service, so all you need to do is access it. So I'll show you how to do that. So this is Pier 45 in San Francisco. I don't know if you recall. I don't know, you're not in San Francisco. Some of you are in LA, but in 2020, this pier got fired and all of this got destroyed. And so I think the city was looking for ideas on what to do there, how to use that space. And so what I end up doing, I search for this this address on the service. I create a crop of about half a mile of all the context, the topo surface, the roads, and the property lines. And then all that information I collected, and then I bring it into Revit, and these provide me the canvas to do my schematic design. I can also bring it into Rhino if that's what you want. But one of the advantages of starting a project like this is that Forma is built to provide you with geodesical references. And so when you inspect the location of this project, it comes with the appropriate latitude, longitude, and the appropriate GIS coordinate system. And so which enable you to propose a coordination system for your consultants and for the rest of team collaborators. And this type of precision allow you to create very exact sun analysis, shadow analysis, photorealistic representations, and you can either work schematically within Revit using the massing tools, or you can send this into DWG for AutoCAD, or do it all in Rhino. I think the value proposition here is that information that is not available to you is now available at your fingerprints at no cost. All right, so we're gonna create something like that for us to work. And I'm going to pick an address in San Francisco unless you have another suggestion. So I'm going to close this file and let me show you how to get started on Forma. All right. Forma is a web service. The future of the software is one in which there's nothing to install. The software is always ready and available on the web. I'm going to share with you the link, the desk login. And Forma is our rebranded product from a former product called SpaceMaker. We bought this, Autodesk purchased SpaceMaker in 2020. And the value proposition of Forma is that it's one of its first kind to offer design authoring on the cloud without the need of installing any software. And then SpaceMaker was rebranded as Forma last year, and it just hit the market in April last year in the United States. So it's a conceptual design tool, it's a modeling tool, and it provides AI-based real-time environmental analytics. So I share this with you. Make sure you sign in using the Autodesk account the same Autodesk account that you use in Revit. Please use the same one to log in Forma. So I'm going to log in using my credentials, Autodesk credentials. We have this verification. All right, so do you guys see, after you log in, do you see this button that says Start Free Trial? Just click on that button. And then I think it's going to ask you to, I am already a subscriber, so, and I'm using a business account. So I'm going to select business here. But on your end, if you don't mind using education, or if you don't see this free trial, that means that you're already entitled. Just scroll down to the list of software you have there, and it's Autodesk Forma. If you see this page here, scroll down to the list of products and look for the one that says Autodesk Forma. Is between Flame and Formit, and hit Get Started. I'm not going to do an educational access because I'm not an educational access, but you do, if you are, and so just enter some information here. This is again just a verification of your. If it's asking this information, just input it. If it doesn't ask it, then I mean you already have access. And follow the prompt. It takes like a minute or two to get started. And I already have a full subscription, so I'm just going to access my Forma Hub. So I know it's going to take a couple of minutes to get it all sorted out. So when you see that Autodesk Forma is ready for you, I think it's going to ask you for a hub name. The hub name is like the name of the server that hold your projects. Feel free to give it a generic name. I mean, I call mine demo. You can call it demo as well. Autodesk Forma is it's available for free under educational licenses. And Forma, it's available under the AEC collection. If you have the the bundle of Autodesk, Revit, AutoCAD, 3D Max, Civil 3D, etc. And Forma, I think it can be purchased as a standalone as well. Those are the three choices. But for this class, if you are using, if you are working on a computer and if you're working with a Revit subscription that is educational, you will have access to the full educational year. If you are working with a license paid by Studio MLA, you can get the 14-day trial. So follow the prompts again for the 14-day trial. So again, if you have the educational license, you have 1 year. And if you have the commercial one, start the 14-day trial. And follow the prompts. It will be, and I don't know who of you are using education or who of you is using commercial. You know better, so pick the right choices when you follow the prompts. You will be asked for a hub. A hub is a server name, and you can call it demo. Let me know if you have troubles or if you have questions right now. All right, so if Forma is working for you, raise your hand in the participant list. I see 2 people, 3, 4, yes. And then the rest, do you need more time or you prefer just to watch? I see Lainey, yes. Spinning wheel, okay. It's verifying. So does it say verifying, Mike? I think I got that when I enabled my trial a long time ago. And then you will see welcome to Forma, and here's the server name. Pick the US, oh, there's another one. Pick the US server, the US location. There's a European location and a US location. It's a difference. If you pick the US, it will bring your data sets automatically in feet and inches. If you do the European location, it's going to be slower, and your projects are going to come in metric. All right, let me know if you need more time. I'll wait for another 30 seconds, and then if you need help, let me know. All right, so I'm going to, since I didn't get any suggestion on what address to use, I'm going to use an address that I picked. But after today, I'm sure you're going to want to start using this in your projects. I'm going to copy paste in the chat panel the address we're going to use to create our project. 340 Seacliff Avenue, San Francisco, California. I don't know if you're familiar with the Bay Area, but Seacliff has a very nice beach called China Beach. It sits on the cliff. It's on the cliffs. And it's a very beautiful spot to watch the Golden Gate Bridge. It's in the north side of the peninsula. Um, and let's say that we have a project there to do some feasibility studies. We don't have any information about it, but we need to get started in crafting some proposals, doing some analysis on what's possible to do, give the customer some ideas on what the site analysis look like. You need to engage a surveyor or a civil engineer to get the topo. Forma is going to get it all for you. And in addition, you have the ability to start analyzing environmental factors in the site, like sun exposure, daylight exposure, microclimate, noise, and wind conditions. And all of these have been traditionally elements that constrain our design solutions. All right, so I hope all of you are connected with Forma now.
Sorry, I was catching up, but I'm having issues. Mine says I clicked hubs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I say that, it says my email's not associated for some reason.
So repeat again. You see where?
So I clicked the educational to get 1 year, and every time I press hub,
Yeah.
it just says it's my email's not associated, even though I'm able to log in for some reason.
That's odd.
Yeah. It's okay, I could watch, but I'll try to figure this out in the background.
Okay. Anyone has the same issue? That was Jeremy, right?
Yes.
Did anybody have the same issue as Jeremy? Looks like some of you were able to secure it and some
Yeah,
other.
I have not downloaded it yet.
Okay, so I think what I'll do is the project I created, I'll invite you so you can join my project and you can watch it from your end. I think that's probably the only thing I can do, at least for now. So who were those, in addition to Jeremy, who else needed to be invited? Just raise your hand. The name of the hub, just put it demo, type demo. Oh, there is that image, Jeremy. And Jeremy, are you using an educational license, or is your Revit a commercial one?
Revit is educational.
Weird. It's weird that it works for the rest, but not for you.
Yeah. It's okay. I'll try to figure it out.
Okay, but it says that the directional access is valid through for March 1st.
Yeah.
That is a good news. All right, so I'll invite Jeremy as a collaborator. Who else need to be invited as a collaborator?
I do. This is Dante.
Dante, okay. Anybody else? All right, I'll invite Dante and Jeremy as collaborators. All right, so if you're with me here, you should have your hub defined as demo. Demo is the name like of your own server, and then you can start a new project. So I'm gonna look at the left panel or click a new project there. I know that the educational version comes with all these distracting welcome instructions. You're probably going to see a video of a lady explaining what Forma is, then things appear in the UI. Ignore those for now, and just hit new project. Forma has this UI that similar to Google Earth. You can access anywhere in the world, and Forma has made agreements with data providers from every country, most countries in the world, that allow you to get some GIS data of some form for your project. In the US, the USGBC organization has allowed Forma to provide topography at 1 meter resolution, which is a pretty good resolution. One of the highest resolution of data in the entire database. There are areas like some countries in Africa where there's no information, and you can I'll show you later how you can check what is the data available in different regions of the world. First, let's give it a project name. Let's call this China Beach. It's right here on the very top. And then search for an address. And you can copy paste the address I shared with you in the chat panel. 340 Seacliff, San Francisco. Notice that it suggests an address for you, and then hit enter. Three forty Seacliff. Avenue, San Francisco. So the address will be highlighted at the bottom, and then it will zoom to this area. That's the China Beach. Very nice beach, private beach. It's the beach for the riches, I think. So it's telling you that, so what Forma is doing, it's creating a 1/4 mile square crop region of the area of your project. And it's going to automatically obtain a crop of USGBC topography at 1 meter resolution. You can see the information right here. You can make the selection to include additional context, but I think the minimum it's 0.10 mile square. Notice how if the crop region is too small, then the numbers become red, and so to effectively make site analysis, you need at least 0.1 square mile. I'm going to select, look at the numbers here where it says total area. I'm going to select an area of 0.25, approximately 0.25. Doesn't matter if it's a little more or less. And try to make the beach the center of the square. And when you're done with that, confirm the map. So what Forma is doing is cropping the topography file, extracting it from USGBC web sources, And then the next step, you can see down here, we're going to manage additional data, additional contextual data from open source providers, and decide include those into the library of databases. So this is the project. The idea of Forma is that you start building the site canvas with GIS information. And so you can order buildings. There are 3 sources: Open City Model, FEMA databases, OpenStreetMap. Out of all of these 3 sources have various levels of reliability. Remember that this is open source information, and so it really depends on who provide that information, whether we trust that information or not. Models in open source at the minimum level provide the building footprint. If there's no height associated with that, I think there's an algorithm that extrudes the footprint and give it 3-level height at 12 feet each. So if an urban block is missing height information, Forma applies this generic formula to give some form and some shape to the existing footprints. You can later access the individual extrusions and modify them manually if you have more accurate information on your end. So FEMA is a database of buildings that are larger than 450 feet. FEMA keep a tab on those structures for insurance purposes. And OpenStreetMap, just like, is very similar to OpenCity Model. This is free geographic databases, so I use this information with toothpaste, with tooth nails. So I'm going to bring OpenCity Model information. So just hit free here. Keep the same crop size, and then order it. Order is in the upper right side. The order has been successful, and now that database is added to the library of assets. The terrain, I don't have to build it again. It's already there. It's 1 meter resolution. The roads at the center of the roads. We don't have the whole width of the roads as a database, but the center road, it's a good start. I mean, in AutoCAD or in Revit, you can offset those center roads and have an approximation what the roads look like. So I'm going to order roads, center lines, and then order here. And then property boundaries are, this is a private service. It's available if you have a commercial subscription. It's a nationwide databases of land parcels in the United States. If you have the educational version, I don't think it will be available. Yeah, you need a paid Forma subscription. So it's not working for me either. Now, the idea is that this software is pretty new, and we're trying to create a marketplace of databases available to customers by third parties. If these databases are private, then they are entitled for a fee, but the fee structure is very little. I think, for a crop of quarter of a mile square foot, the fee is going to be like $3 or $4 each, right? So it's not an expensive investment. And we are in the process of expanding this to third-party providers. All right, so I'm going to close this, and this is Forma. Notice that this is the 3D topography with the roads, road representations, and then I'm going to invite the collaborators. This is intended to be a collaborative space. I'm going to invite those of you who weren't able to join.
I was able to join. I had to click another link, so no worries.
Oh, Jeremy, you're in?
Yes.
Okay. And who was the other? Dante?
I'm in now as well.
Oh, you are in? Oh, okay, awesome. All right. So you follow along with me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is a topography at 1 meter resolution, which is pretty damn good. You can also have access to the aerial photos. So here, the first button, no, the display option, which is the I button, has different ways to display this topography. You can look at it as a thin surface, as a contour, a map, as a map, or as a satellite image. And the satellite image is actually wrapping the surface in 3D. All right, so let's bring the data sets. The data sets that we order in the first few steps are stock on the library. The library is the second icon in the vertical panel. And I have the buildings, extrusions, the center lines of the roads. And the way to place these data sets, you click those 3 little dots next to on the lower right corner of the thumbnail, and then hit place in Canvas. And the 3D region is overlapped to the site. This preview is just to confirm there are 523 new geometries that are going to be added into the project. If you agree to consume this information, then you add it. I'm going to add it. And let's bring the center lines. Place in Canvas the street center lines. That in blue is the preview of the center lines. If you want them, then just hit add. And then if I'm using the I'm using the educational version. That's why I couldn't bring the parcels. But if I had a commercial subscription, the parcels are also an available data set. All right, so this is the context of a project. And let's say that you've been hired by the city to do some studies on improvements on the landscape of this open area. And so, any question here? All right. What's great about Forma is that all the geometry, I can move it, I can export it into Revit. I can also export it as a FBX or a OBJ for rendering purposes, and it will bring all the imagery. Or I can send it to Rhino. Okay, so the idea, go back to the first icon, the navigator. The idea behind Forma is that you use this site as a canvas for testing feasibility studies. And Revit Forma comes with these authoring tools, super simple, and that's the purpose. The problem we're trying to address is to have informed early stage design metrics that receive the feedback of environmental analytics. So you can create very simple line buildings. A line building is a building of between two lines, and it responds to parametric inputs. Row houses, basic building, it's a building that you draw. You draw a boundary and then you extrude it. You have a tree line or define an area with trees. But before we get started, I think we need to we can define the site limit. The site limit is the boundary that constrain our area of work. And let's create the site limit. So hit the fourth icon in the vertical bar, hit the site limit, and grab all the green areas around the beach. Means imagine that you've been hired to to do this project, and then you include all these areas as part of your scope of work. If you have access to the parcels, you can actually just select the parcels using this button. This is select or trace existing shape. We don't have those here because I don't have a commercial. I have a commercial, but the one I'm using on screen is an educational version. All right, that's the boundaries of my site. And it's like a three-dimensional polygon extruded or wrapped on top of the surface. Notice that immediately I got size area reported here, right? And then as soon as I start placing buildings, then I can start calculating things like gross floor areas, the FAR, efficiency factors, number of units, etc. I'm not going to get too deep into the authoring tools, but it's an option. You know, you can. Let's do a very simple thing: a line building. A line building, it's a structure defined by 2 points. And before you place a line building, look at the parameters. It's a rectangular building that it's 40 feet wide by 4 floors high. And the distance between the height between levels is 10 feet. And it has units, sectional units defined every 50 feet. And then you can create rules for circulations. These are rule of the thumb spatial parameters just to get a rough estimate of a feasibility study here. So I'm going to keep it I'm going to keep it the same, and let's say I'm going to do a building here. And then hit enter to finalize. And so notice how immediately Forma calculates the gross floor area. This is the building footprint. Yeah, BC is like the building contour. RA is rentable area. FAR. I need to add some uses in order to calculate it. And then efficiency factor, number of units. So this is intended for architects doing feasibility study, but for your money, maybe you want this to extract features that will be useful for some landscape analysis. You can change this, you know, and delete it and replace it. This is one of the authoring tools that ships with. The authoring tools are very simple, and again, this is a new product, so don't expect it to be fully mature. But the real power of Forma comes with the analysis, and so we're going to do one analysis, and then we're going to have a 20-minute break. And when we come back, I'll continue the discussion of analytics, and then we're going to install the Forma plugin, which allow me to send a proposal into Revit, and then I can capture that information and continue developing in the Revit environment. So let's do one analysis. Let's say I'm going to run the sun analysis, the sun hour analysis, measure the amount of sunlight that the surface of the ground and the surfaces of the buildings receive at a specified date and time. You can pick the date you want to analyze. I think by default is the summer solstice. But you know, we can go into November 21st, and then you run the analysis. And this is the power of artificial intelligence. The Forma is it's applying machine learning based on thousands of simulations done by users in this area to make fairly accurate predictions on what's the average insolation factor for this site, taking in consideration the weather data harvested closer to the project site and mathematics associated with the psychometric chart. So you see the analysis is completed. You see the analysis results. And for this particular site, for this time of the year, this is a measure from 0 hours to 10 hours. You know, the orientation of these tells you, you know, that there are some areas in the site that receive more sunlight than others. I mean, this is north of San Francisco, so the beach is facing north. So it's expected that, you know, the north facade of these buildings receive close zero direct sunlight. And you can inspect the values of the analysis by clicking this, you know, this inspector tool. And it will disclose the value behind the cursor. Right. And so in addition to this analysis, there's 7 other analyses that we can run. And this is valuable information even before you start a project. It's like analyze the environmental conditions of the site in Forma, and then in your mind you can start making smart decisions on how to orient the interventions and your shading strategies inside the site. So other analysis we're going to do when we come back is wind analysis, microclimate analysis, noise analysis, operational energy, and coming soon, it's embodied carbon calculations. And then we're going to move these sites and all the topography into Revit, and I'll show you how, you know, the import brings geodesical references that establish shared coordinates. You don't have to worry about setting shared coordinates from scratch, and that could be the anchor point for the rest of your consultants. So it's 7:04. Let's be back at 7:25. Have a snack and stretch. And when we come back, I'll show you how to move this into Revit. All right. Any question? Let me know. Gonna stop my camera, and I'll see you in a bit. All right, guys, I'm back. Hope I didn't lose you. All right, so it's 7:27. For the remaining of the class, I'm going to focus on displaying some of the additional analysis capabilities of Forma, and then we're gonna close how to move this into Revit. And so, all right. You guys with me? Anybody can raise a hand or let me know. You back? Yes, Lindsay, great. Isaac. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so Forma, as I provide us this ability to extract environmental impact of different type of analysis types, and sun hours is one, and one of the most popular ones. Let's do another type of analysis. As you can see, Forma is super easy to use, and I think one of the greater potential of the software is that it's very intuitive. The learning curve is very, very low. In fact, I don't know if any of you play during the break, but creating geometry using this schematic tool is super simple. Let's apply other types of analysis. The next one, next to the sun hours, there is the daylight potential. And this is the amount of indirect light that buildings receive at vertical surfaces. Daylight potential measures the vertical sky components of the semisphere. And just run the analysis. The daylight potential, it's different to the sun hour analysis. It's the indirect light that a vertical surface is exposed throughout a specific time of day based on data harvested from nearby weather stations. And again, using machine learning analysis, it makes predictions on what the potential is. So when the analysis is finished, you can display the results. This one, it's only applied to buildings. And this one only is applied to the site, the buildings inside the site. And so the bar you see here, it's I think these are percentages. The percentage of the vertical surface that receive a natural light, indirect light in a specific time of day. Notice how probably the south side of these buildings, maybe it's not a problem, but they do receive a little less. The daylight potential can be expanded to the entire, not only to the site boundaries, but all the context. You see in the analysis area, by default, you select just the site limit, and every building that overlaps or is touching the site limit, it will be included in the analysis. You can also do the entire site instead of the site limit. Run the analysis, and now the analysis, instead of be bounded by the structure within the site boundaries, it's actually running throughout the entire site. This is going to take longer because it needs to apply the prediction and the calculations in every building surface, but it's not too bad. The most amount of time I'm going to spend here is probably a minute. You see the analysis results are here. And this is the daylight potential for the entire site. And so you can hover over the horizontal bar at the bottom, and it tells you interpretation of the results. It tells you, you know, if it's like really dark blue, it's impossible to achieve any daylight in that surface. And then if it's light blue, very light blue, conventional window design is satisfactory, anything that is above 27%. And then there are other strategies here, difficult to provide, large windows. So you're starting to suggest some design strategy to mitigate the lack of daylight potential. All right, but for you guys, I think one that you may like is the wind and the microclimate. Let's start with the microclimate one. This one, it's a combination. It makes a prediction of the temperature at the ground level based on a combination of the sun, wind, and sky exposure. Click on microclimate and then notice that in this particular example, it's a rapid analysis. A rapid analysis, instead of being applied to a site, it's a diameter. You see there's a microclimate area radius. You can actually increase or decrease the size of that circle. But the center of the circle is the center of the site. And again, this is combination of analysis result, process via machine learning. I'm going to run the analysis, and I will receive a color-coded result that display the predicted temperature at surface based on a combination of multiple variables. And that's the beauty of, one of the beauties of machine learning is that it doesn't have to process all this data over and over. I mean, the algorithm has learned to predict with a high degree of accuracy what are the measurements for that particular site. And these are some statistics. And so and this is January, you can scroll all the different months. So for January at 2 p.m., this is the thermal comfort indices. And I think this means that on average, for this particular site, for this date in January, there's a 23% chance that the temperature is between 71 and 73. There's a 24% chance that is between 68 and 62. And then that is applied to the surface. You can use the inspector tool to extract the data for that time. And you see the difference between a shaded spot and exposed surface. It's remarkable. It's a change of 14 degrees on the outside. There is, I mean, these microanalysis, I think, take into consideration this is a percentage, you know, the average temperature, but you can change it. These are uncommon conditions. To see, what would happen if the air temperature for this day is 61 Fahrenheit. So the distribution of data, the average distribution of data is that according to historical data, 57 degrees is the temperature in January, but you have exceptions, right? And then you can see the live results as you move your cursor across all these different options. And look at the results in June or August, where it's the hottest here. Actually, in the Bay Area, it's always fresh. But let's say August, it's 71 degrees at the ground level. So when you look at statistics, there's a 54% chance that the temperature is going to be between 86 and 87 degrees in all those spots. And so the potential of microclimate, I'm sure you can see some value on the things you do. Traditionally, this type of analytics has been reserved to the domain of environmental expert or computational designers who know how to do this in Grasshopper or advanced computational design tools. But now it's available to you and it's super easy to use. Let's use another one. Let's talk about wind. The wind analysis, there are two variations. There is the rapid analysis, which is it's machine learned generated. And then there's another one that is computational fluid calculations, which is a three-dimensional representation of the main vectors of the wind in the prevailing wind rose direction. Let's do the rapid one. You have as an input the wind area radius, and these measures, there are two ways of measure wind. One is what are the what activities would be allowed under the wind conditions. For example, you see the results. You can sit comfortable in the areas that are green. You can be standing, you can be strolling or walking. And if there's areas in red, that means that the wind conditions make a very uncomfortable human activity. And then the other way to read this is using the direction. So in the lower right side, you can look at the speed of the wind across the site at prevailing direction. This is the wind rose apply for this specific site. The prevailing wind here in the west side. And so for the prevailing wind, this is the speed. So wind, it can be a bit windy. You can see there are areas where you have this sort of like a concentration of wind at 8.9 or 11 miles per hour. And again, in the distribution of data, this is the average speed for this time of the day and this particular year. But you can change it for more adverse conditions. So if you start moving, the base speed for the site or the average, then the numbers start getting a little bit more dramatic. And so you start to discovering, potential dangerous situation on the site that need to be mitigated, like vortices um, uh, or wind tunnels. And the thing is that because this is this is almost live things. As soon as you input a new strategy, you get immediate results. Like I'm gonna change the shape of this and to include a new extension here. I hit enter. And then you see the algorithm in the background start calculating, and it just takes a few seconds to get the new results. All machine learning and AI. And so as you make design decisions, you can start validating the results of the design decisions across all these different strategies. Let's look at other analysis. The wind has another one that is the detail analysis. The detail analysis is computational fluid dynamics. This is very intense on resources, and it says here it's going to take between 35 to 100 minutes to finalize processing. You can run it and come back tomorrow if you want to check the results. It doesn't matter. You close this website, the analysis continue getting computed in the background. And when you come back with a full detail analysis, you're going to see these three-dimensional vectors floating across the site and giving you an idea that what the prevailing wind direction and the force of those vectors as well, color-coded. We don't have 100 minutes in the class to wait for it, so I'll skip on that. The other type of analysis is the solar energy. The solar energy measure the potential of your site to generate electricity via PV panels. And again, it's a variation of or a combination of the sun analysis and the daylight potential, but it translates into the amount of energy potential in the space. I'm going to run the analysis, not for the entire site, but for the site limit. Make sure you change that. We want to see the potential of putting panels on that site. Run the analysis. This is a quick analysis. Again, it's machine learning. It's going to take a few seconds to generate. And again, it's a color-coded bar measuring the quantity of energy harvested on a specific date. So here it is. This is it applies, what's the potential of using panels in the roof surfaces. By default, they only analyze the roof, but you can also say, the entire surface if you want to play PV panels in the building surface. This is an estimate of the total annual energy potential and the average solar energy harvested. And then it tells you the panel, it gives you an anticipation of the solar panel efficiency, surface coverage, average. I can reduce this and it will impact the change. And the bar below is the amount of kilowatts per hour per square foot potential. All right, so you don't need like a consultant or a specialist to start making this kind of calculations. And if you want to know, if you think, oh, how do I trust this? This seems to be a little bit out of the box. Go to the help file. The help file describes the science behind each of these analyses and the method used to extract all these calculations. I'm not going to go over those, but that's one question that I receive all the time. How can I make sure that these are reliable results and not, the and not just or if the tool doesn't provide a way to not justify the results. Okay, so all those are the analysis that you can do on the site. That's actually, you know, a service you can provide if you become adept at understanding how Forma works. But I think the goal here is that you receive all this information and then you tweak your schematic design as you develop the layouts. There's the last tool in the vertical panel on the left side is called Compare. And these allow you to display side by side the results of all these analysis. And you can have an overall perspective of how your design decisions are influencing or impacting the environmental analysis. So this is the list of all the analysis we did today. And I want to compare the solar energy with the microclimate with the sun hours side by side. And I have 3 results next to each other. I click this arrow at the middle to hide the interpretation of the results. And then you can navigate each of the panels using the same camera viewpoint and have informed discussions on the design implication of your decisions using this way. If these are images you want to include, like in your environmental reports, you can save this as a screenshots. I think there is a camera here. Yeah, 4K screen capture with graphics. Those are PNGs that you can download and incorporate to your site analytics. You can also use this to if you're part of a team that is invited to a competition, this probably give you some. Forma is not, it's in its implementation phase and it's not widely adopted yet. We're in the process of pushing implementation. And so I encourage you to explore it at a more deeper level for the kind of things you do. But I'm here to talk about Revit, right? And so all the geometry that you see in Forma can be exported into a Revit, into the Revit environment and provide a canvas to start your conceptual design studies. So let me, any question here? All right, so let me show you how to move this into Revit. And so, and this is how you get started a project. I mean, we're talking about setting up a new project. The idea of Forma is that you build multiple proposals, geometrical proposals, and you use the tool to create a way to validate your design decisions with environmental analysis. For the kind of things you do, I think we want to use Forma just to bring context into the project, and maybe I also wanted to show you, how to you can apply some of the analytical capabilities. So Revit Forma provides a plugin for Revit. It's called the Forma add-in for Revit. And it's a very fast, quick Revit add-in that you can install on the fly. I hope you guys have admin rights to your computer, but if you go into the main proposal panel, go to the Revit option and hit download Revit add-in. This is a short add-in that will be downloaded into your download folders. You see, it's going to take less than 20 seconds to be downloaded. The downloadable file will be available to you under the downloads folder, Forma Revit add-in, MSI, and double click it. This is going to add a couple of new capabilities in Forma, and then the ability to link a Forma project with a Revit project. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to double click it. But on your end, you can just, if you have admin rights, go ahead and install the add-in. Then I'm going to go back to Revit. It takes seconds to install, to be honest. And the development team works constantly in refining the installer. So whenever you use Forma and Revit, Revit's going to tell you that there is a new version of the plugin, and it's just a matter of running the installer and replacing the add-in on your end. So to move the Forma geometry into Revit, I had to start a new project. And so in Revit, hit the new button and open the default template. If you don't have the default template, the Imperial Multidiscipline will work. Imperial Multidiscipline, hit OK. I need to be in a 3D view. So I'm going to switch to a 3D view. And notice in this 3D view, there's level 1 and level 2. I'm going to delete level 2. Because I'm not creating a construct. This template is intended to support building projects, not landscape projects. And then the level 1, I'm just going to call it ground level. All right, so, and then these scope boxes, I don't think I need. So you can just delete them. I'm left with one single level. And the project is going to fall right in the center. It's going to be huge. So this level is going to be very little. Okay, if you were able to install the plugin, the plugin is going to show under the massing and site. And then these are the 3 new tools that will be added for you. There's something called load proposal, update proposal, and on link proposal. So when we send a proposal from Forma into Revit, we establish a link between those 2 spaces. And so the first step to send the Forma information is to send the Forma proposal, and then we jump into Revit and we load it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to Forma where I have my geometry. And then under Revit, I hit send proposals to Forma. And so what you see on the screen, the terrain, the roads, the aerial picture, the building geometry, all of that is going to be packed and sent into Revit. And you see this screen, this notification that the proposal has been sent to Revit. And this operation happened on the cloud, so there's nothing to download. There's no file to reload. This proposal is ready to be consumed into Revit. And I go into Revit, I'm in the 3D space of this blank project. And then I'll just load the proposal. Before I load the proposal, make sure you check the options. So in this drop-down list, it tells me the kind of things that are going to be built automatically. So Revit is going to, if there is any walls and floors, if there are any buildings, it's going to create walls, floor, building. I'm going to disable that. I don't want to bring the buildings I created. So I'm going to disable walls for the conceptual masses will be 3D sketch elements. The generic models for other elements. So this includes, the existing context will be converted into generic model category. You can create parking spots. Model lines for the site limit, the terrain, apply satellite imagery. Disable the last 3 of them. It takes a lot of time. And we have covered the topic of subdivision of toposolids to explain what is a subdivision, for example. But later it makes sense. So disable create walls, and then disable the last 3 ones. And then hit OK. And I'm going to load the proposals, and then the proposal in the cloud. Oh no. Let me try it again. Proposals, send to Revit. And then I go here and load proposals. It's not working. Let's see if I enable wall. That is a shame that I cannot do that. Maybe I'm going to try to reinstall the, I'm going to save this file. Hopefully it works on your end. Let me know if it works on your end. I'm going to save this file. I think I need to save it first. Yeah, it's going to take, the process of transferring is going to take maybe solid 2-3 minutes. Load proposal. Yeah, it's not working. I'm going to try to reinstall the plugin. So I downloaded already. I'm going to double click the format add-in. Next, prepare it. Hopefully this time around works. And I'm gonna launch Revit again. Yeah, I'm showing you the latest and greatest of the tools we're developing. And although I love for a lot of these to work seamlessly, I mean, new generation of software sometimes require a lot of feedback. And but let me see if this works. So now I'm going to go into my project that I just created. Go back to Forma. Send to Revit. Jump back to Revit. In 3D space, and then go to site. Load proposals. It's not working for some reason. Do not find any data. Let's try one more thing. I wasn't installing a lot of software today because my machine is full of crap, and maybe I uninstalled something that I shouldn't have. I deleted all my 2022 software and older. Oh, you know what? I think it is. Yeah, I think it is because I am using my my Gmail account, and that's different user than the one I have in Revit. So what I need to do is to invite myself. Yeah, that's what I need to do. I need to invite myself. And then log out of Forma, and yeah, and access my Forma hub as yeah, this is my company one. Here is China Beach. And I'm going to send this over again. Send to Revit. And then jump into Revit here and the proposal. I don't know why it's not working for me. Yeah, this is my I'll do one more thing. And yeah. If it doesn't work, then there's something wrong on. I did this a while ago. It's the same address. It's a different project, but I had a design solution here. I'm going to Revit, send to Revit, and see if this works. The proposal. This one worked. So yeah, it's definitely it's a mix, and it's a mix of my credentials as a student and as a business that's preventing me to do that. I see your message, Jake. Does he say it's going to take 6 hours? This usually it's not that bad. This shouldn't take more than 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know about anybody else, but I've only gotten 4.5 megabytes through.
Okay.
I think it's just we're all on it at the same time, so
Okay.
the internet. So.
Are you at the office?
I'm remoting in myself, but some people are in the office.
Yeah. Yeah, this progress bar will tell you, you know, how much it's taken, and then it will create some Revit elements. That process again is just gonna take a few minutes. And then when you're done, you have the canvas for the Revit, for the real Revit project. Again, you know, all of you are learning to do this at the same time. If you decide to use this in a project, you really just have to set one project and then have one person create the model for everyone, and then enable work sharing, or enable work sharing, so that the rest of the team can contribute to the documentation process. I mean, right now everybody's doing it at the same time, assuming that at some point you might start a project again. When these finish processing, what I want to point out is that not only you get all the context in a Revit environment, you also get the aerial photo, which is actually very accurate, and you get the model with coordinate GIS system, which establish the appropriate location in the world with the right latitude and longitude. And so any sun study or visualization that you create using Revit, it's going to take into account the actual location of the actual solar path associated with the project site. And then the only thing you're left to do here is to define your project north, because the project will be oriented via the true north. The project north will be defined, you know, by the main orientation of either the building, architectural building, or the adjacent street. You decide what the project north should be, and then that's a setup in the location bar of Revit. It's a bit unusual. It's taking me that long as well. It will get there. It's if you see below here, it's generating graphics in 3D view, and it's sort of like telling you what it's doing. It's like refreshing view, generating graphics for 3D view, and there's this progress bar. It has to create that for every building, I think. All right, I'll give it a couple of minutes and wait for this to be created. Yeah, I cannot open another project while this is processing, so I'm tired as well. But I think the greatest thing is getting the topography. You know how hard it is sometimes to get accurate data on topography, and this is a USGBC at 1 meter resolution. It's pretty damn good. Maybe not at the resolution that our surveyor will do for your project, but enough to get started with some space programming and bubble diagrams or preliminary layouts. So, all right, so it's I'm gonna give us 3 more minutes, and then let's just wait for the elements to be created. While this is getting processed, let me show you other stuff you can do with Forma. So Forma also has a marketplace for third-party extensions. These are functionality developed by private startups who are starting to use the Forma environment to address specific market or typology problems. And so the extensions is something that you find under is the third button from the top. And it's this icon that looks like 3 little cubes, one on top of each other. So if you hit the plus here, add extensions. These are this is functionality that is not available out of the box on Forma, but you can see data providers and third-party developers are starting to create some functionality. And there's one that's called co-design, which actually allow you to make this to use Forma backgrounds to design on the iPad. You can integrate with Dynamo. You can integrate. There's Evolve Lab Veras, which uses natural language to create stable diffusion background to a Forma project. Veras, for example, you can tell it has a description box where you write as an input what you want to see in the background. You want to see a foggy day, or place the project in the middle of a forest and add this type of plants with this density, and it will create it for you automatically using AI. It has a Rhino plugin. The same operations that I did about moving data from Forma into Rhino, then the same works for Forma into Revit, the same works for Rhino. And there's a documentation on how to do that. But I want you to add the test fit parking at the very bottom and agree with the terms and conditions. And then this extension was developed by this company called Test Fit. I don't know if you heard about it. It add functionality to create a schematic representations of parking and parking counts with a specific type of parking distributions. And so in the corner of my site, let's imagine that I'm asked to create a parking lot. So the test fit parking, which is the extension, is now available as tests under this icon that is called TF. Then this loads the extension into the panel, and then these are the inputs. What is the typical stall width, depth, drive aisle width, typical turn radius? Maybe you want to do drive aisles of I don't know, 25 feet, turn radius of 15 feet, maximum roll stall count. This is how many cars in a row you want, is the maximum you would allow before you place an island. You can change this to 20. The ADA buffer corridor, ADA car width, ADA bandwidth, and then all the calculations happen automatically. And now all you need to do is to create a boundary. So here I am creating the boundary of a parking lot. Wait, I'm gonna do it again. Let's put parking. And then I place it here. And see how via algorithm design, you have these design solution that respond to the input we placed in the project. Enter. And then you can come back and it tells you the amount of, it will report the amount of parking that you created. And so it's 720 spots. And so this type of calculation now happens super quick. If you want to have like an estimate of what's the capacity of parking there using these inputs. You're not happy with this, then you can change the primary axis of representation. And you see when I change this to a different value, it rotates the main directions of the parking. I can increase the maximum roll stall. If you want to do a very boring one, I'm going to increase it to 2025. Right now you have no islands. And again, different municipalities may have different formulas for what's the minimum and maximum. Sometimes it varies by inches, and you can adapt it to local municipality requirements. All right, that's test fit. Let's see my Revit finish. Here is Revit finish processing. I have some warnings that I'm going to ignore. I'm going to switch this to a realistic view. And then this is my project. There it goes. It's it comes with the texture. This brought the schematic design I did in a previous demonstration for architects. And it has the topography, big thing for us to do. And under the location dialog box, you can see that this brings GIS coordinates. Unfortunately, at the moment, it's limited to UTM-84. There are hundreds of GIS projections in the world. UTM is one of them, and that's the only one available at the moment. If this coordinate system, it's a break deal for you, you can disable coordinates and re-enable a different one with a civil 3D file. But it has the latitude, the longitude, it has the right timing zone. These are shared coordinates. And so this could be the start of a coordination process that you lead as BIM manager. And you can send this file to the rest of the consultants and say, hey, acquire the shared coordinates from this project. This is going to serve as the source of alignment for all the disciplines moving forward. So this is the easy way to set up a new project and to establish shared coordinates. It's all aligned with a format project. I think there's a question here. Would GIS file also set an alternate coordinate system or Civil 3D? If you can export a GIS file as DWG, I think AutoCAD AutoCAD nowadays, I mean the latest version, recognize the GIS system coming from embedded in DWGs. The next class, I'm going to show you how to do that from the AutoCAD perspective. I mean, this is one way to start a project using Forma, where you are like the lead and you want to define how the shared coordinates work. But the next class, I'm going to show you, I'm going to have a whole lecture on what shared coordinates are and how you can utilize an AutoCAD file coming from either Civil 3D or ArcGIS or other, but it has to be DWG, how to establish shared coordinates based on an AutoCAD survey. That's the topic for the next class. All right, guys, it's past 8:15, it's 8:23. Any question? You like this? Is this cool? Did it work on your end? Just, yes.
We weren't able to, or I wasn't able to download it, but seems good. Excited for the CAD version.
All right.
Yeah, this was cool.
Yeah, it's still downloaded for some of you. Give it some time. Let me know if you have questions. I think the value of this is the ability to bring the context and the. By the way, you can send this. You can make changes here and then send it to Forma if you want to run it through environmental analysis as well. So the way to do this is via the add-in. I haven't made any change, but when Revit register a change in the geometry, you can update the proposal, and this is going to make an update in Forma, and then you can run the environmental analysis again. All right, I'm going to save this file. We'll talk about shared coordinates next class. And yeah, have a great evening, guys. Oh, there's a question here, sorry. Would you mind sending a list of programs to download prior to the class? Yeah, there's nothing we will be downloading moving forward. Well, except AutoCAD. If you have AutoCAD for next class, that will be great. Doesn't matter the version, maybe as long as it's older than 18, that will work. The latest version of AutoCAD is 2024. It will be nice if you want to open the file I'm going to share with you, but it's not super required, because I'm going to open AutoCAD and show you how the GIS system in CAD relates to the Revit one. And so if you want to follow along that explanation, then yeah, you may want to have AutoCAD open. And then this form extension was an exception because it was quick and dirty, but I think moving forward, there's nothing else to install. Let me think. The exception will be when we have the demonstration of environment. So I have a call with them tomorrow. I'm going to identify a date where I can bring them as a guest speakers. And I think they will be open to give you a 15-day trial. I don't know. I'll ask them what terms of the trial they want to give you guys, and I'll send I'll make sure that I get the installation files prior to that class. All right. Okay, guys. Thank you. Have a great evening, and I'll talk to you on Thursday.
Thanks,
you.
Caesar.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.